Rightio, let's get underway, everybody. Can we please stand for the opening karakia? Excellent. Welcome along to our Finance and Performance meeting for the 24th of June. We've got an apology from Councillor Fields for absence, a partial absence from the Mayor, and an early departure for Yanni. But you'll probably come back though, won't you?
Yeah, there's a possibility I'll come back, but just waiting on until the time.
No, good as gold. So I'm happy to move those. Vic's happy to second them. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Now the declarations of interest. Now we have been told we've got a new process, so I need to read them out, just so everyone's aware. So for item 9, Venues Otatahi, we've got Councillors Field, it'd be Kewen because Tyrone's not here. For the Christchurch NZ report, item 17, it's the Deputy Mayor and Councillor McClellan. For the item 18, Christchurch City Holdings Quarter 3 report, it's Councillor Coker. For items 21, public excluded, it's Councillor Coker. For items 22 and public excluded, it's Councillor Coker. For item 23, it's Councillor Coker. And then item 26 is Councillor Kewen and Councillor Fields is not here. And then item 27, the Deputy Mayor, Councillors McClellan, Kewen and Fields, but Tyrone's not here. And item 28, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor McClellan, Kewen and Fields, but again, he's not here. So I don't know if anyone's got any others. There's a comprehensive list. We're all good? Great. Now we've got, so item 3, we've got the minutes from the 26th of May, Tuesday the 26th of May and Wednesday the 27th of May. Tim's happy to move them. David's happy to second them. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Okay, that brings us to our first item, which is a public forum from the combined unions of Littleton Port, RMTU, MUNS, AWUNZ and the Merchant Service Guild. And that will be from Mark Wilson and Jason Campbell. And yeah, I think it's those two. Am I right? Oh, yep, you're here. Great. So you know the deal, Mark. 5 minutes. We're in your hands. If you've got, depending on how long you go for, will be whether there's any time for questions. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, Mayor and Councillors. Most of you know me. I'm Mark Wilson, Branch Secretary of the Littleton RMTU. This is Jason Campbell.
Yeah, good morning. I'm an executive member of the MUNS Littleton branch and a 20-year employee of the Littleton Port Company.
And behind us are our fellow union members and officials from MUNS, RMTU, A1s and the Merchant Service Guild, all workers at our port or former workers at our port. We speak to you today on behalf of our respective national bodies as well as the local branches. Though we could focus on many things presently, we would like to remind you and comment on your most recent letter of expectation for the CCHL board and subsidiary boards. First of all, we'd like to start by saying thank you. Thank you for your detailed and specific letter of expectation that was passed January this year. The letter of expectation advocates and protects the workers of the port and the communities that live beside it. We continue to be very surprised, however, that aspects of the letter of expectation that you debated, considered in depth, and then passed unanimously do not make it into the CCHL statement of intent, despite staff assurances to the contrary. And because of that, there is no show of your expectations, which are the shareholders' objectives, being put into the subsidiaries' statements of intent. The following expectations under the letter of expectation heading Council Priorities with the statement, the Council expects CCHL to commit to the following in its statement of intent, have been omitted by CCHL. 1. Acknowledgement that it CCHL is owned by the Christchurch City Council on behalf of the community, and that they will conduct themselves in a manner and make decisions that are consistent with public ownership being retained. 2, engage with council before progressing any proposed significant changes to its or its subsidiaries' operating models. And 3, to act as a good employer as required by Section 59B of the Local Government Act, foster relationships of good faith and promote the object set out in Section 3 of the Employment Relations Act 2000, including strong employee and union relationships, support for collective bargaining, continuous improvement in health and safety, and maintaining a commitment to a directly employed workforce at the Littleton Port Company. And the last point under council priorities. The council advises CCHL it is not supportive of leasing out the port operations nor any other significant operations involving directly employed staff. Now, on the 22nd of April, the draft CCHL Statement of Intent was tabled at the Finance and Performance Committee, this committee meeting, with staff advising, and I quote, "The CCHL Draft Statement of Intent meets with the requirements of the Local Government Act, and they reflect the Council's letter of expectation from January this year." The Finance and Performance Chair then replied and went on to clarify, based on the Local Government Act of 2002, we can provide feedback and they can then consider it and decide if they include it or not. 2 questions. What feedback did you offer when seeing this in the statement of intent, or seeing the statement of intent had omitted the points I raised before? 2, do you think the advice of staff and the statement of the chair is consistent with the legislation that states the principal objective of a CCO is to achieve the objectives of its shareholders?
Now you've got about 10 seconds, Mark. How are you going?
I'll just finish this if I can.
Have you got much longer?
The objectives, no, I don't.
Great.
The objectives of the shareholders need to be in the statement of intent. Significant objectives of yours are not. The workers of the port, the communities that surround the port and harbour, the city that relies on the port, the local economy that uses and benefits from a publicly owned and controlled port, elected you with a mandate and your word. Our port, run by DP World, is not publicly controlled and won't be publicly owned in the future. It doesn't matter who else is involved. The legislation gives you the power to direct the content of a statement of intent, and that's what we expect you to do now.
How are you going for time?
Intervene
I'm going to have to wrap you
now
up.
and put things right. The end.
Great. Thank you. Great.
No questions.
Thank you for coming in. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Excellent. So we'll move now to our deputations, and we've got one deputation from Nick Harewood regarding item 16. So are the team here? He might be outside potentially, is he?
Thank you for your time.
Hey, thank you. See you later.
Hey, Sam, someone should tell you some manners. He was talking.
What did he say? Okay, Nick, and team, come on up to the table. So you're a deputation, so you got 10, the Secretariat will have told you got 10 minutes. And I don't know if you want to bring your...
Christine and John are happy to sit back here.
Okay,
Thank
whatever you like. Yep.
Thank you very much.
Great. So this is in relation to item 16. So the time's on, you've got 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and the members of the committee. Thank you for your time today and for the opportunity to present. I'm here regarding agenda item 16, the matter of consideration of disposal of 274A Main Road. My name's Nick Harwood. I'm a principal engineer at Sinclair, and I'm here today on behalf of Christine and John Van Uden, the owners of 272 Main Road, the property adjacent to 274A. I submitted on their behalf on the 9th of April annual plan hearing before you, and I attended last week's 16th of June council workshop, and I'm here today responding to item 16. I sent in a written submission, and that sends out my detailed responses to each of the concerns council have identified. I'm not going to go through all that content in detail, but I want to just draw attention to three things that I think are the most important for your deliberations. The first of which is this: it's who is asking for the disposal, and what are they asking for? Christine and John Van Uden are not spectators in this matter. They are established neighbours. Their property at 272 Main Road sits adjacent to 274A, and they have a direct practical purpose. They would like to build a garage to provide secure off-street parking for their home. They've twice previously worked with council to acquire road reserve land. They've actually added to their land by acquiring through road stoppage for improvements to their property. And they are a known, familiar, financially capable party. This matters because council's own assessment raises concern about what a future open market purchaser might do with the land. And that concern is answered by the identity of the potential purchaser and the straightforwardness of our proposal. The second point is the Mulligan's track evidence. Council staff report identifies geotechnical risk, hazard overlays, and the likely need for significant engineering intervention as reasons that the site is unsuitable for private development. And that characterisation is not disputed. The hazard is real. What is disputed is the conclusion drawn from that characterisation. And I can tell you from direct professional experience that none of the hazard management issues are insurmountable. 120 metres away, just down the road on the same hill in the same hazard zone, there's this two-storey garage currently under construction right now. The project is at 1 Mulligan's track, and I'm the geotechnical expert on that project. I work with the owner and with council's consent officers, council's internal experts, to develop the assessment and mitigation strategy. Both resource consent and building consent were granted, and there are photographs in attachment B of the written submission. The staff assessment states that the fatality risk, what we call the AIFR, would be improbable to overcome at Main Road. But I've reviewed the hazard ratings from GNS, and the ratings for both sites are equivalent. And those maps are also included in attachment B. Council's consent officers accepted the hazard assessment and risk mitigation at Mulligan's track, and the same pathway for resolution is available for 274A. And Mulligan's track is not just a comparable example, it's a replica of how to deal with the hazards. The third point is that each of the concerns raised are solved by the development. The geotechnical hazard will be assessed and mitigated under law through the council's own consent processes and at no cost to council. The pedestrian access, prior to the earthquakes, the footpath ran entirely within the road reserve, as shown in page 1 of attachment B. We propose as part of development to reinstate that alignment, to return the path to the public land permanently without easements on private title. And we think that's a much cleaner and more durable outcome. A vehicle access can be easily reinstated on the original driveway route, and that can all be done to council standards under the consent process. There were concerns about whether works would need to pass under neighbouring land, and Christine and John have spoken to their neighbours that they've known for decades, and Both of the key neighbours have given their written consent for access and for easements. Everything in principle, of course, because subject to formalisation. But they are neighbours and friends, and they give their full support to John and Christine. So, in closing, I invite the committee to observe key patterns across my responses, that we acknowledge Council's reporting and the concerns, and that every constraint that's been identified is a constraint that the development would address. The geotechnical hazard is mitigated, the path is reinstated, the easements are not a problem. And the development does not create problems, it resolves ones that currently exist and that Council has no programme to address. So my recommendation is, and I understand that today the committee can only decide to retain or dispose. I had other options in my submission, but of the two options available to you, then I can only recommend that you dispose of the property on the open market. This is probably for you, it's probably the fairest and transparent option, and would ensure value for money. Yeah, I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you for that. So that's obviously a wee bit different to what the deputation, the submission was, in terms of, I think the initial talk was potentially like an unsolicited bid or the like. So the annual plan was very clear. Yep, go to open market because it's simple, surplus to council requirements. So just to confirm, you're effectively saying you'd be quite comfortable if we were of a mind to just go to open market today.
I think, Mr. Chairman, that's the sort of the cleanest option today. What I've tried to do is demonstrate that there are solutions to all the problems, and there are even solutions to how to dispose of the land. You either dispose of it on open market, or there are options, obviously, to negotiate or for a transfer.
But in your sort of technical, I mean, you're very well experienced. In your view, there's the ability to navigate the challenges with the land if it was put to open market and someone acquired it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Did anyone have a question, or was it just me? Aaron, sorry.
Yeah, just quickly. So the other neighbours, or friends of the people you represent, support it going to market. They support their neighbours buying it and developing it.
They support John and Christine developing it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. You're all
Right.
You're all good. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Sorry, I keep looking at you because you're the local councillor.
I don't have any questions because it's all very clear and makes a lot of sense. So thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Can I just get a sense of the room? So thank you very much for coming in. Is this likely to take? Is there a general view of going to open market? Because if there is, while we've got the people here, I might just do the paper. But if not, if it's going to be contentious and take some time.
There's some sort of tweaks to some of the wording,
so
but nothing contentious.
What we might do then is we'll do the stadium stuff. So if you want to hang around for sort of 20 minutes, we'll do the stadium stuff. Then we'll bring forward the paper just while you're in the room. So you might just have to jump out while we get all the stadium people in and then come back. But
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
all right, so we're going to move now. So we've got no petitions, and we're going to go to the staff reports. So the first one, I'd like to welcome in everyone from the Te Kaha team. So come on in. What we're going to do is we're going to do 7, 8, and 9. Now, before we welcome along, team. Before we begin, I think the mayor would just like to say a few words. So I'll get that. We'll do that first, and then we'll. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sam. I'd just like to make a few comments, as this is a very special moment for what has been a mammoth project. and one of the most significant investments our city has seen in some time. It is also one that I know many of us feel an incredible amount of pride in. From the opening in March to attending a few games and concerts there since, it never ceases to leave me in a bit of awe, and I always walk away feeling how lucky we are that it belongs to us and the people of Christchurch. It certainly has the wow factor. First time you walk in, you go, woof, it's great. So to Barry, David, Mark, Kent, and the whole team, I know there's a lot of people, and I'll miss a whole lot out, so I won't go any further. Your collective fortitude to pull this off on time and within budget, and giving us almost $26 million worth of contingency back is fantastic. It's something that I hope you are all very proud of. I certainly am, and I thank you for your able management. But there are also many people who aren't in this room today of whom we owe a debt to gratitude, including B6 Watpac, the builders, who last night won the Supreme New Zealand Health and Safety Awards for One New Zealand Stadium. Very good. Firstly, the successive governments that committed to this project, we wouldn't be here without your partnership and vision from Christchurch, for Christchurch. In particular, I'd like to acknowledge two proud Cantabrians, Right Honourable Jerry Brownlee, current Speaker of the House, and former Minister for Canterbury Earthquake Recovery, and Honourable Dr Megan Woods, former Minister of Greater Christchurch Regeneration. They both played vital roles in the long journey of our city's rebuild, and certainly with regard to the stadium build. To the thousands of others who were involved in the build at One New Zealand Stadium, whether through tasks big and small, behind the scenes or right out in front, thank you so much. From design to materials to build to logistics and everything in between, what we have now is beautiful and it's functional, and it provides our city with exactly what we needed. We are the envy of a lot of cities. I read a thing from an Australian newspaper how we've beaten them to the punch on a number of things with the wow factor of this stadium. It has certainly been a real team effort, and we couldn't have arrived here without your collaboration and support. What's special about having this moment today is that we now have the benefit of seeing what's happened to our city in the 2 months since the stadium opened. The excitement, the pride, the social, sporting and economic benefits have already been felt, and we know that One New Zealand Stadium at Te Kaha will continue to provide these things for generations to come. I'm also thrilled to see that local businesses who never lost faith in the area are now thriving. Thank you for sticking with us. Once again, I apologise that we didn't get it started a couple of years earlier, but I won't go any more than that. Our city is already welcoming the crowds and providing energy, opportunities and space New Zealand's most vibrant city deserves. And we will continue to do so for all those who come along after us. So on behalf of the whole team and the Christchurch City Council, congratulations to all involved and thank you for making it happen.
Thank you, Mayor Phil. We might hand over to you, Barry and Mark, and welcome back, Kent. Hopefully we didn't give you another swipe card where we took your last one. So Barry, over to you.
Morning to tātou, and thank you, Mayor Phil, for those very kind words. Just want to acknowledge that David Kennedy, our Chief Executive, and Steve Reindler, our Board Director, are an apology today, but they send their best wishes. Just want to acknowledge the board members that are here today as well, Gil Cox, Richard and Jane, who you both know very well. Just want to also acknowledge the support they've given me and the team throughout this journey, and acknowledge Venue Sotatahi. Caroline's here as well. And I guess the closeout report that we have presented to you today, I think is not only a report for council, but also to recognise the money that the Crown have put into this project, and I guess we've written it as an opportunity for the Crown, who obviously will be doing a number of big projects in the future, can pick up some of the lessons that we have experienced throughout this journey. I really want to acknowledge the governance model that we've put in place. So right from the beginning, this has been a council-controlled organisation, and we had a few wobbles at the start, but once we overcame that and we went through the normal process of having a letter of expectation and a statement of corporate intent and having clear delegations, and recognising that we were one team, we were able to move forward at pace. You made some exceptional decisions at the beginning of this project. A lot of big projects come down to procurement right at the beginning of the project. So the process you went through, the RFP process you went through before I turned up, by the way, who some of the board members, Stephen Richard in particular, were involved. Brian Pearson, the current chair of CCHL, was heavily involved in that process, and others. And selecting the contract model that we ended up with the pre-contract services agreement, and then moving on to the D&C contract, was critical in terms of making sure we had the allocation of risk in the right place where it belonged. And we could also have some confidence when we finally got to the D&C contract that we had a lump sum, and we largely had a fixed price contract, but we also knew the risks that belonged to us. And when we came to you in July 2022, and after the shock of what we were proposing a few months earlier, I think when we went out to consultation, we had to make absolutely clear that this project was going to be delivered on time, within budget, and all those other key, including health and safety and dealing with our community, etc., was going to be achieved. Look, this is a big congratulations to the council team that were involved in the project, Mark and Kent in particular, but there are many others within council. So just to remind you of the model you had in place, you had a board, you had one external employee, you had a number of contractors, but all of the rest of the key staff came from council. And then we had Venues Otatahi, another council entity. And again, a lot of these projects fall over because the project delivery arm cannot talk to the operator. Aaron and I have been involved in a few Canterbury District Health Board projects over the years, and that has always been the challenge with big projects. So right from the beginning, VO were intimately involved with the design fundamentals. So really, when we got to the point of practical completion, a lot of work had already gone into training, testing, commissioning. So by the time we got to handover, and it was a blessing we finished on time, so the team had plenty of time to get ready for that super round. And don't underestimate how big that super round was. Not only its impact on the turf, but a completely new team running 5 games Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And while we had test events, and while Carolyn ran an amazing lead up to super round, you don't really know how it's going to work until you have a full crowd over 3 days. So that was exceptional. So from the board's perspective, you can have bricks and mortar, but if you can't activate it properly and can't, live the dream with the community, which was another key feature of this, right? So as soon as we signed the D&C contract, or prior to that, we gave it a name, Te Kaha, and all of the comms that took place when we got across the line with the D&C contract, and you would have seen Kent every month talking to the community, everyone got excited about what was coming, and less so about the challenges we had getting to the point of signing off on the contract. And for a number of reasons, by the time we got to practical completion, there was just an enormous expectation that they were going to get something special. Hats off to Ngāi Tuahuriri, I whakapapa to Ngāi Tahu, so it was a proud moment to have mana whenua involved in this project, both Jane and I, whakapapa to Ngāi Tuahuriri, so it was a proud moment for them to be involved right at the beginning, and you heard me talk at the opening. We've got something special there, which in my mind speaks to the partnership that we have in this city. And that everyone that comes to our city throughout the country remarks on the beautiful stadium they have and the cultural experience as well. I know it's one New Zealand stadium, but everyone will remember Te Kaha as well. But also, the experience they have. So I guess in summary, great procurement model, great selection of B6 WAPAC, really good systems involved, and I guess the way we ran the project, I think, and it's another key feature that's in the closeout report, is right from the beginning we had our finger on the pulse. So risk management is about identifying the risks involved in the project and then really closely monitoring them to make sure that if they're going to come to fruition, that while you're not under pressure, you have a plan, and as soon as something gets close to being triggered, you know exactly what you're going to do. And I think B6 WAPAC will say that we have been the most anal principal they have ever come across, because Kent lived at the site, right, along with Mark, and we knew everything that was going on. We were a little bit surprised when there were some contractual changes late in the piece, but we were, we're aware every step of the way. We were all over health and safety. We were all over engagement with the community, which made the board's role really easy to execute, because at every board meeting we had B6 WAPAC, and again, this is different for them having to front up to the board at every board meeting and give us firstly an update on health and safety, program, quality. So this really was a partnership. My last comment, I know I've been going on for a while, but my last comment is that these things don't happen without having a team. And everyone needs to be in the locker, but you also have to row in the same direction. And while we had our conflicts is probably the wrong word, but we had our challenges because we had different views. Ultimately, at the end of the day, this was a council project belonging to the community, and it was really simple to come back to that basic principle that we're given a clear mandate, we know the outcomes that we have to achieve, and we made we had to make a few trade-offs along the way. I'm most proud of the health and safety performance. I know money's important. Really proud of the health and safety performance. Grateful that B6 were recognised last night with that health and safety award. I'd argue that these two and Kurt should be part of that award as well. I guess in closing, if I do comment on the budget, we gave you a P85 number, which we increased to P95. You guys held 10 million. We never were ever going to touch that. But we did make some scope changes along the way. Gender neutral toilets, I think you all remember that conversation we had with you. The turf, we were originally running with the turf that we had, the turf setup that we had at the other stadium, and Apollo Project Stadium, sorry. And then we switched across to the carpet back turf, which was, again, you would have seen at Super Round and every other, and concerts, that decision on the turf and Richard's advice, I think Richard's here, advice on that was, again, critical to where we ended up. As for the rest of it, Mark over here will not even buy me a cup of tea or a hot chocolate. He is all over the dollars, along with Kent. So it's no surprise to me that we came in well under budget. That's it. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Barry, for that. That's fantastic, and thank you, team. And obviously, like you say, there's so many people that probably aren't in the room today that have literally contributed behind the scenes, which is so important to acknowledge. Look, I think, and we can take some questions in a minute. I remember, Barry, being in that room with Leanne when you came in and said, we've got a bit of a problem with the price. And it wasn't the seating, it was the next cost. And, but I think at that stage the community had committed to it, which was really good. We obviously went through the public feedback as well. I just also wanted to mention Richard Peebles, who's here. So Richard, you have so much development credibility within the community that I think one of the wins that we got was having you involved in it. It brought a lot of public confidence to the project, and it was amazing how many people said to me, hey, Richard's built a lot around town, he'll know how to fix it. And I think you've brought a real skill set, and I just want to particularly acknowledge you, because I know you're a busy person, but you did this out of community service, and I think we should acknowledge that as well. So thank you for what you've done. The other one is, I think, to just call out Andrew Rutledge, and Andrew will hate this because he likes to just get on and do things, but you played an integral role from the beginning, and I think, I've talked to Tim a lot about this, being back in the day when, there were some challenges with it, and I think you two worked really hard to get this over the line, and we have to acknowledge you for what you do for the council and for this project. I think it's a massive legacy for Christchurch, and everyone that's been involved should be really proud, and we're really proud of what you've all done as well. So on that positive note, yeah, and I've got Yanni as a question, and then Jake and I are just amending it a wee bit just to put a vote of thanks in the bottom of the resolution, which is just on behalf of the council acknowledge and thanks all of those who have contributed to the planning, governance, funding, design, contribution, delivery of the stadium, including our project partners, mana whenua, government agencies, past elected members, because I think it's really important to acknowledge, everyone, everyone that that has been involved in it as well. So we'll add that in. It'll be moved by me and seconded by Jake. But Yanni, have you got a question or a comment?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions.
Bear in mind we're celebrating today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But we're also trying to learn lessons to go forward, right? And so I really appreciate getting the closeout report. Without doubt, the closeout report from when the contract was let, shows a remarkable story of delivering against time and against budget. So I really appreciate that and want to acknowledge that. I guess for me, when I read through the lessons learned or
so what's your question,
the closeout report, the question is there's things that are not covered in there that are perhaps a wider view of a council rather than the specific project. So I was just interested to know if you'd done any sort of review of or lessons learned from things like traffic management, if there was any lessons learned from taking a precinct development approach rather than just the stadium approach. Certainly that was one thing that was raised repeatedly during the process. And then the other one that I was interested to know too.
Okay, can we just stop?
Do you want to just do those?
Just do that.
Yeah.
They don't need to be long answers.
No, I'm sure Yanni's been very consistent with the same question. Actually, that belongs with Venues of Tutahi. We're here to deliver the project, and they're here to activate the One New Zealand Stadium at Te Kaha. So our closeout report is all about the responsibility of the board, the statement of corporate intent that we signed up to, and the project delivery side. There is a note in there though that Venues of Tutahi are responsible for activation. So I'm sure Caroline will be happy to talk to you about that in the future.
Great. And your next question, Yanni?
Okay. Yeah. So in the recommendations for future projects, it says ensuring that changes to the principles requirements are not made after the design and construct contract has been agreed with the contractor. So do you think there were decisions that we could have made about the principal requirements earlier around that all of precinct development that would have been beneficial?
Oh, no, that comment relates to probably would have been cheaper to agree gender neutral toilets before we completed the DNC contract.
Yep.
Every time you go back with a change on scope, it adds a cost on it. It's an opportunity around variation. Now, all of the stuff is open book, and it's a bit of an arm wrestle that goes on between the principal and the contractor. But that comment relates to, if you're going to sign a DNC contract, get as much of the scope, all of the scope agreed right at the before you sign the contract.
Yep.
Right.
Great.
And then I just looked at the governance letters, the governance learnings, and I mean, there was a bit of a rocky time, but that's not really reflected in the governance lessons. So, I mean, I'm wondering, is there anything that you
That's
can...
not something Barry would comment on. We appointed the board, so that's an issue for us, not for Barry.
Sorry, on page 74...
Yeah, that's great. Yanni, I've ruled it out, so have you got a different question?
Okay.
No. Okay, so we're done. We'll leave it on a positive note. So that's been moved and seconded. Does anyone want to say anything else? Tim, yeah.
Just want to read out, thanks very much. There's a saying in event management, every plan is perfect until the public turn up. I think you've done an outstanding job, and it, as you reflected, Barry, the link between yourselves and VO and V6 Watpac, putting it together shows that in the delivery of the super round, which I could only imagine. I'm surprised you're not going grey, but we won't go there.
Who, me or Caroline?
No, Caroline. Yeah. No, it's too late for you.
Yeah, I know.
And me as well. But just one other thing, just a comment with regards to the gender-neutral toilets. When it was discussed around this table, the only thing, and I didn't comment on it at the time, the one thing that really threw me was not one person mentioned concern or talked about disabled toilets. That's always stuck in my mind around this table. It's really surprising. So I just thought I'd comment on that because I think it deserves to be a reminder to us. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, thank you. Like, I appreciate getting this lessons, the closeout report for the specific project, and there's lots of information in there. There's a lot of reference to the history. You know, I do think there's still some questions that are not for the specific project team, but are wider to council around the recovery, around the timing of when we did the stadium and the process by which, you know, things that were in the blueprint, things that were in the cost share, things that were supposed to happen by whom, the government or council, and around funding. But I appreciate today is looking specifically at the construction of Te Kaha, or the One New Zealand Stadium as it is, and I do commend, as I said, the work that's being done. But to me, there are still some bigger questions around looking at that all of precinct development for those that, you know, remember when we went through the road upgrade process, that, you know, it was quite interesting to get the information at the time and then see what happened when the venue opened. So I think we should always be looking to improve and learn from what we can, but we should also celebrate the success. So, you know, I think I just want to acknowledge the health and safety stuff as well. I think for me, just so impressed with that track record that you had at that massive construction site. For those of us that drove past it on a daily basis and saw work happening, sometimes it felt like it was happening day and night, and on very high places. Well done. You know, I think that to me is really incredible. So just want to acknowledge the good work that's happened. And I do think as a council, as I said, I think there are some other lessons that hopefully at some point we can discuss, but appreciate you don't want to do that today. Thank you.
Sorry, I just want to make this point. This was a complex project.
We're in debate, Barry. You can't. Yeah. Mark, and then Aaron, and then we'll wrap it up.
Thank you. Well done, team. This is a huge day for Christchurch getting this closeout report, and there's a lot of meaty information in there, which I'm sure we'll, all take a look at and learn from, and apply the lessons learned into the future. And did a stunning job. It was amazing day on day to see that amazing structure come together, and well done on getting it across the line and getting it open and having so many thousands since enjoy it. We look forward to that. One of the things I'd like to call out in the report is I'm really impressed to see the upstream involvement in the process. And I think for myself, that's a way that as a council and as procurement teams we can look to learn of how to support our social side of council through the procurement process. I think that's a really interesting option going forward, and thank you for involving them in the process.
Thank you. Aaron?
Yeah, there's just one thing I think to add, that I think the people of Christchurch, or in all of New Zealand, now know that we've the best entertainment venue in the country. The media have got on side with that. They agreed at all the events so far, and then on the weekend even the Australians have now conceded that this is the best venue. And in entertainment, when someone does a really, really good job, they get a standing ovation, and I think the team here deserve one, so I'm going to stand up. I'll invite everyone else to join me to do a standing ovation for this team in their performance in delivering this stadium. Thank you.
Great, well thanks. It's good to see nearly everyone stood up for that. Hey, thank you, and obviously just to acknowledge you, Mark and Kent, as well for your work. You've been great at leading this for us, and we're really proud of what you've done. And hopefully, Kent, at some stage you'll come and work back at the council. That would be very nice. And the other thing I've just written down, and I will miss departments, but if you think about our legal, our consenting, our parks, our transport, our communications teams, everyone's been really united in this approach. And I think as a result of it, we can stand here today and be really proud of the organisation and everyone that's been involved. So. And the local businesses that really got in as well. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Against, that's carried.
Sorry, can we
Great.
just acknowledge Mary Richardson as well? Just wanted to
Yep.
do that, so thanks.
Great. Thank you. Okay, thanks very much, team. So we'll go back to, actually, let's go to Linda for the performance report, which I'm happy to move and Jake's happy to second. It's pretty pro forma. Is there anything that, everyone happy to take that as read? All in favour? Against, that's carried. Now we'll go to, we'll do item 9, venues out of Tahi, and then we're going to go to item 16 around because we've got the people from the deputations. So can I invite Carolyn, and I see Brent Ford's here as well, and Jamie's here, and Gil's here. Oh, Gil's here too, yep. So whoever wants to come up, come on up.
Sam and councillors, I'm not going to sit at the front. It's not about me, it's about the management team.
Do you want to just turn the mic, just come near a mic, Gil, can you? Yep.
Can I come near a mic? Sorry, Sam. Sam and councillors, thanks very much for having us here. I'm not going to sit at the front because this is all about Caroline and Jamie reporting to you. But I'd just like to introduce them and introduce one of our other board members, Brent Ford. Brent's with us today. What I want to do is just say to you what Caroline and Jamie are going to do is talk about the quarter from 1st of January to 31st of March. That's before the stadium. So this is Q3's report from VO to the council. But we know you're interested in the stadium. Surprise, surprise. So we're going to give you a snapshot at the end of that of what the last 60 days have looked like. And you'll see the step change that it means for VO and the city. So I'm going to hand over to Caroline, and she and Jamie will go through that, but remember it's in two parts, the Q3, and then we'll give you a snapshot of what it looks like with the stadium in it for the last couple of months.
Great, thank you, Gil.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you're doing. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to see you all again. Been a bit on the last few months, isn't there? So look, just further to Gil's introduction there, we'll talk to our Q3 results, which is obviously the last quarter that we had before the stadium opened. Obviously to acknowledge that the quarter was an intensive period of not only business as usual event activity, but readiness for what was coming in April. Excuse me. And so we do want to take some time to reflect on the quarter, but obviously then take some time to reflect on the first 60 days of operation of One New Zealand Stadium and the Te Kaha precinct. And to also take the time to acknowledge not only the venues Ototahi team, but council and council support of us in our role as the operator, and to the city for genuinely bringing this place to life. So we'll crack into it. Righto, so you'll see in terms of our operational performance targets, we to the end of March welcomed 525,000 or so guests, obviously well on track to our annual target of 600,000. We are tracking along to almost hit, if not exceed, 1 million guests across the financial year, which is a pretty impressive milestone and something we will hopefully be celebrating with all of you in the coming months. In terms of events, obviously 340 events to the end of March. That's well and truly on track for the 400. We're well ahead of budget, about 55 events ahead of budget there, and well ahead of where we were last year, about 36 events ahead of last year. Obviously, you'll still see a good balance of diverse content, so about 30% ticketed, material number of business events making up that collection of events, and still our commitment to community events as well in and around the venues. A few highlights, obviously this seems like a lifetime ago, so those two, the last time we had to endure rain at a concert, so we had two Ed Sheeran, the irony of it, a very, very wet summer, and we've had a very, very dry winter, but anyway. So a couple of those Ed Sheeran concerts at Apollo, we had Matt Rife, Jimmy Carr at the Arena, a few things on at Hagley, obviously with the Black Caps, the White Ferns and Super Smash finals. Lainey Wilson and Lord at the arena. So you can still see really rich content across the whole venue portfolio, which has been awesome to see. We obviously remain committed to celebrating and sourcing local in everything that we do, and you'll see that when we talk about the first 60 days of operation of One New Zealand Stadium, that really is strengthened by having a larger scale operation with the addition of that venue. So we continue to maintain that 80% and over threshold of procuring locally with all of our food, and with 70% of our contractors and suppliers coming from the region as well. So you will see that obviously their estimated economic impact there of 35.7 million to the region through to the end of the third quarter. If you look at the entire year last year, that was around 41 million. So that doesn't even take into consideration what's happened in the last 60 days and what will still yet to happen. So to that end, to date, to the end of March, obviously local procurement sitting there just over $1 million, and you'll see that visitor spending making up the material number of 27.3 million. So again, tracking really, really positively, and you'll see in a couple of slides what that looks like when you add in the stadium over the last little while as well. Importantly though, there are commercial and our economic factors, but social and environmental impact remain core to what we do and who we are as a business. So you'll see there in terms of our social impact, obviously we're taking on a large number of staff. We've taken on, that's 395 staff, that's to the end of March, but that brings our total up to date to about 850 staff. So a lot of new staff and a lot of new people enjoying learning about the stadium and all of our venues. But what we're really pleased to see is a highly maintained level of engagement, a really low turnover, and a genuine culture of doing the best for this city. So that's a wonderful platform to have for the future. We maintain obviously a core collection of strategic charity partnerships, and again that just strengthens over the last little while and into the future, and all of those other metrics with a real and genuine focus around accessibility and inclusivity, which has been a real focus as we've come into the new venue as well. Environmental, so we have a little bit of a blip there in terms of our waste diversion, but you will see at the end of the year that is tracking in the right direction. We've had some really positive results from our first few months at the stadium, despite obviously the large volumes of waste coming into that venue and coming out of that venue, I should say. And we are tracking along, still on our carbon reduction roadmap, so we're still maintaining that reduction with a material impact coming in the coming months when we replace those diesel boilers at the arena. That's about a 39% contribution to our overall carbon footprint. So again, all of those things are tracking positively. And we maintain our partnership with Kairos Food Rescue, who are repurposing our food to those that need it. And again, the scale obviously heightens with the stadium. From a community perspective, again, you'll see those targets are well and truly on track in terms of number of events, and obviously surpassed when it comes to the value of those community groups and individuals getting discounts in and around the venues. So maintaining that level of accessibility and connectivity with the community and their venues is absolutely critical to everything that we do. And again, you're seeing step changes, not only from a commercial perspective, but from a community perspective as well. Client and guest experience, so you'll see really strong results in terms of our NPS around client experience. That's really important for us. Obviously the clients we need to return, as do we want our guests. And our guest experience is tracking ahead, but we want to see that strengthen. So that's a pretty strong platform, but we do want to continue to see that NPS grow. That's really, really important for us. I'll pass over to Jamie, who'll just talk to those Q3 financials.
Yeah, so as Caroline said, this is obviously where we're looking up until the end of March prior to opening the stadium, and our performance was looking really strong, and it's looked significantly better after opening the stadium as well. So look forward to a really good result from us at the end of the financial year. But this really shows the strength of our existing portfolio, and as you can see, tracking really well at the revenue event number basis. and holding our operating expenses steady to target despite an additional 45. Despite, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Yeah. So despite all the additional event load, keeping those operating expenses in check. Do we have some finance numbers to talk to in here of the forward-looking? No. So I guess just for some sort of indicative numbers, the level of food and beverage turnover we've seen across April and May within the group of companies is kind of equivalent to a whole year of what it used to look like previously. So the food and beverage and culinary teams have been extremely busy. Our number of guests through the venue is enormous, and I think that's coming up shortly. But yeah, we've been busy everywhere. So I know all of the publicity's been on opening the new stadium, but we had our second busiest month of the year in May across both the town hall and the arena. So spare a thought for the teams out there. And yes, so EBITDA was $2.4 million ahead year to date to the end of March, and that number will improve significantly from here. I guess just one proviso, the results for this last 10 weeks, we've squeezed about half a year's worth of major events into the 10-week window, so you can't take that 10 weeks and times it by 5 for next year, unfortunately.
Yeah, don't do that. All right, so look, now we just wanted to take a moment to reflect on the first 60 days of operation. It seems like it should be longer than 60 days, but it's not actually. So I do genuinely want to acknowledge the team. To Jamie's point, you know, the stadium has been intensive, it's been busy, it's been awesome, but the other venues have continued to track along, and they are very, very busy as well. So you do see the strength, obviously, in the way that we structure ourselves. You know, we do run our business as a portfolio, and that gives us the ability to be cross-functional across all of our venues, but also have those material savings when it comes to overhead, because we can traverse across all venues. So let's take a moment to walk through some of the numbers. So as of today, we've had just under 300,000 guests through the venue. So that 286,000, which is just awesome. You'll see the total estimated economic impact across 60 days is around 21 million. So we originally forecast around 50 million for 12 months of operation. To see 21 million in that first 60 days is pretty incredible. All credit to Dan Shanks and his culinary team, 182,000 premium hospitality dishes. So if you think about that by way of the number of events, which is actually not that many, that is a lot of food for each event. And that's really where you're seeing that premium hospitality line as a material shift for the business. You'll see some of those metrics around food. So again, we are procuring locally. So 650 slow-cooked lamb shoulders from Canterbury, 530 sides of Akaroa salmon. I think there's a sauce number in there which is enough to fill one of the hydrotherapy pools, which is kind of a disgusting thing to imagine, but still pretty impressive. 2,870 kilos of local beef. So you're seeing all of these metrics adding up to this wonderful platform of celebrating and sourcing local, and all of those flow-on effects that you see in the region. Obviously, we've got plenty of staff that have worked in the venue. So 761 staff have worked in the venue, and that's across just under 4,000 shifts. So again, we're seeing high volume, high scale, but what's been wonderful is that the genuine and authentic feedback we're getting is so much around the venue and the experience of being under the roof and having that intimate experience with whatever's happening on the field or on the stage. But the feedback that we are getting around our hospitality and our staff has just been so awesome to hear, and they are loving it just as much as we are. So very, very much a source of pride. And you see it, you feel it, you know, around the city. There's a sense of pride, there's a sense of positivity, and it's a sense that we haven't had for a long time, and it's just permeating through the city. So awesome first 60 days. But if we move on, obviously, to acknowledge what's happening across the portfolio of venues. So in the parallel period, there or thereabouts, 450,000 guests through all of the venues, which is huge. You look at the town hall, it is performing beautifully. 63 events in the same period, 55,000 guests. Obviously, we've seen Apollo, we've handed that now back to council, but it had its last couple of events, and we do want to acknowledge the service that Apollo gave the city. Just under 15 years of wonderful experiences, and a generation of people that hadn't had an experience elsewhere in a stadium. So that is certainly, will go down in history as playing its role, that's for sure. And that brings us to the end. So happy to take some questions.
Hey, thank you for that, Carolyn and Jamie and Gil and Brent. It's fantastic. And I think what I really liked was that you've talked about the stadium, but you've also reflected that you're looking after and still pumping stuff through every other facility, which is so important for Christchurch. Because, yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of it. The new shiny thing is awesome, but it's really nice that you're looking at everything. So appreciate that. I just have one, and I don't know if you can answer it here, but it'd be just really interesting in time. The discretionary spend, like at the stadium, that must be going, based on those numbers, must be going gangbusters, is it? Like, it must be going really well. Have you got any insights? I appreciate it might be commercially sensitive, but is there anything you can share with us that would be interesting to the council?
Yes, we can probably give you a sense of some percentage uplifts in terms of spend per head, maybe?
Yeah. The spend per head sort of at rugby is nearly double what we would have seen at Apollo Project Stadium.
Wow.
And I think we've got quite a different demographic attending, which is helping that spend per head.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for one of the success stories is the change in approach to retail. So having that wonderful collection of local hospitality vendors, it's just another layer of the experience. So even if you're not into entirely what's on the field, people are coming for that other experience. So, and those local hospitality vendors are their own community now. It's really, really cool. Yeah. So it's sort of got a life of its own, which is awesome.
Brilliant.
Caroline didn't mention it, but on this slide, we've paid over 1.6 million to the retail food vendors to date through their sales at the stadium. So I think they're all very happy with how that's going.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great. Okay, who did I have? I had Yanni and then Tim.
Yeah, I mean, similar to that question, and I appreciate there may be some commercial sensitivity to individual numbers, but is there anything that you can give us around, you've got the total estimated economic impact, but is there any more specificity around things like the total ticket revenue, or, is there a way that we can see the direct spend to the stadium across ticketing, hospitality, retail? Like, is there any way that we can get a sense of what that financial performance is, or is that just too difficult?
Well, we don't retain the ticketing revenue. Obviously, that's for our venue hirers, so we don't retain ticketing revenue. That's not our revenue line. So we wouldn't be able to share any of that. We don't have it. And we probably couldn't get too granular in terms of specific by event revenue. You will certainly get stadium specific financials, which we will call out individually, but it won't be event specific, and it's certainly not ticketing revenue because that's not ours.
Right. So if we don't know what that is, how do we judge what we invest in bringing events to the stadium?
The investment that you make in attracting, if you're using council funds, is the economic impact of those events and the visitation to the city. So obviously with Super Round, seeing that 13.1 million in economic impact from visitation, that is a wonderful return on your investment for the city. We are self-funding those events that we attract in, and they are for those events that's return commercially for the stadium and for venues Ototahi, and we will always have a line of visitor impact to that investment, but for us, the ones that we will invest in are the ones that have a commercial lens. So for you, in assessing what you invest in from council is more about the visitor impact and the regional impact of visitation.
That's the point of the CPG funding, isn't it? So
exactly. Yeah.
Where there's a wider economic benefit, then groups would apply to that funding to attract events.
Yeah.
Like we did with, I'm imagining Super Round came from that. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And
I guess-
Yanni, just for clarity, so we do track the contribution of the events to Venues Orotahi. Just as Caroline was saying, some of the revenue streams you're talking about aren't our revenue streams. So ticketing for a concert is not our revenue, that's the promoter's revenue.
Okay.
And so one of the things I know we've discussed before, but you've implemented a partial levy. Is there any information we can get around the quantum of money generated through the levy?
So we've got the levy in play for Robbie Williams coming up, and obviously we wouldn't be able to share any revenue lines yet, and we probably wouldn't talk to the granularity of that, but we will be able to talk at the end of the year, or certainly in our quarters, as to the impact of.
Great. I've got Tim, and then Kelly, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, thank you. Probably too early with regards to the success of the stadium and how that kind of could overlap into the town hall and Wolfbrook Arena, but perhaps that's something we could look at in the future. So once, after a 12-month period, we've got a bit of an idea. It'd be good to see if there's uplift or whatever, because obviously there's no downturn, but it would be good to know if that's overflowing to the other venues.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think you see momentum shift, and first and foremost, we wanted to make sure that we were confident there wasn't going to be any cannibalisation across venue, and we're not seeing that, which is awesome. And I think you're right, like then it's to look at uplift, because you're already seeing uplift generally, but actually to maintain that and grow it is yeah.
So it'd be good to look at that after a 12-month period, a cycle. So thank you.
Yep.
Cheers.
He's going to move it in March.
First, congratulations on tremendous running of the stadium over the last few months. Just in particular, I wanted to ask about those local food vendors. 1.64 million in 2 months seems an awful lot, and obviously it's a bit of a masterstroke having local vendors, and it's quite different. What's the feedback you're getting from them? To provide context for that 1.64, are they doing a lot better than they were? Do you have any context around that?
Yeah, I think, I'll say this with relative confidence, I would say all, without exception, have had record turnover and had that from day one. Yeah.
And so they're on a sort of a shorter term contract. Do you think they'll anticipate there'll be a lot more interest in others looking at it down the track, and how will you approach that?
Yeah, look, we're really happy with the offering, and we'll listen to our guests, obviously, and our vendors. So it'll be, but at the moment we're loving, and our guests are loving the offering. We've got a really good diverse range of local hospitality providers, and what we really want to see is, as we have to, when we have to build our external overlay, is that we want to see that as a genuine extension of the footprint. So we want to see replication of those vendors and the same guest experience regardless of whether you're in or outside the venue.
Great. Okay, so that's been moved by the Mayor and seconded by Mark. Any discussion? Yeah, Tim. Yep.
Just have to say that the difference for this stadium, apart from being outstanding in every other way, is the roof. The funny thing is, I'm getting feedback from the people I know in Australia who are now, number one thing they're talking about is the roof. And you're thinking in Australia you've got Suncorp and all those that don't have a roof because it's nice and warm, but now everyone's looking at, if they're going to look at a new stadium, the two things they're talking about is how close it is to the playing field. The old days of having a running track around a stadium is over and well and truly gone. The embankments, as Councillor Henson talked about, are well and truly gone. So you need a roof, and you need as close to the playing field as possible to survive, and we are well ahead of it. And I think, as Aaron Kewen said, that this is the number one stadium in Australasia. It really is. So congratulations, guys.
Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge the work that you've done around the significance of this project, but also just wanted to acknowledge all your staff. And I guess the thing that resonates with me when I've been fortunate enough to attend events is just the culture that you've built amongst the staff that are working on the ground, helping people, the guest experience. So just, a huge thank you and a sense of gratitude to all those people within VO that you employ for the hospitality and the manaakitanga that they show to guests of all ages and all all sorts of issues that they've had to deal with. I just, repeatedly find that you go out of your way as your staff to help people solve the small issues that can have a negative impact, and also just the friendliness and the helpfulness of which they apply themselves to welcoming people is really appreciated. So I just wanted to pass on a huge sense of gratitude to all of the staff at BO, and also to the support for the local producers and suppliers of the food as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. I'm not allowing any more debate. We're going to leave on a positive note there. So we'll put that to the vote. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you, VO, for coming in. Much appreciated. Now we're going to go to item 16. Yep, that's all good. So we'll get item 16. So let's get the team to the table.
Hey. Sam, I'd like to move option 2 in the agenda.
Yeah, I think I sent through yesterday morning some tweaks. I imagine we'll get a bit.
Just so I've got it clear, is it in the same vein though? Like in terms of going to open market?
Just want to make sure I'm not getting up. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But no, I think it was sorry. I'm just because if it was an altered version of option 1. It was actually what I was.
So the mayor's going to move or second option 2.
Right.
And then I guess we'll just foreshadow yours, but it would be good to understand what it is.
Yeah,
because we might be able to get it to.
Yeah, I think we could probably get a bit of merging.
So what we'll do, we'll hear from the. Actually, I'll tell you what. No, let's have 5 minutes now, and get. I just want to because we might save half an hour. So
yeah, sure.
Everyone take 5 minutes. Aaron and Nathaniel, do you want to come up here and see Anne? All right, we're going to do this, then have a break. So, because it turns out Aaron and Nathaniel are aligned.
Yes, indeed.
On the option.
Truly exceptional.
Aligned on the option and politically is what I'm led to believe. Yeah. So we need. Where's the mayor? Do we have the mayor? Do we have Phil? Okay, do you want to kick off your... I mean, we'll take the paper as read, so we don't need to go into a lot of it, but can you just talk through is there anything you want to add, and then we'll go to questions?
No, I won't add anything. I'll take the paper as read, but I'll just clarify process and what you have in front of you for a decision, because in the conversations I've had, it's been a bit confusing. You got presented with a deputation at the annual plan, proposing that this property is suitable for being declared surplus and sold. You sought a separate paper on that, which is the paper in front of you today. That is a binary decision to support the sale or not. It has a staff recommendation not to sell. We did a briefing last week, you'll recall, so I'm not going to go through the attributes of the site. We did a briefing last week. You asked for an alternative resolution if you didn't want to support the staff recommendation and sell the property. We put that out in a memo on Friday, and it had two options. One was declare it surplus, and that's what you see on the screen, or put it into the LTP. That was called option 1 and 2. Option 1 was the one you see on the screen that's now being called option 2. So that's the confusion. You then got a deputation on paper on Monday and a subsequent paper dealing with that yesterday that seemed to evolve this into an unsolicited proposal. That has now changed as a result of the presentation and deputation this morning. So you can ignore all of that. You can ignore the deputation paper and you can ignore the paper we put out yesterday with another alternative resolution to deal with that. So what is in front of you today is a binary decision, sell or not sell.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? David?
Fantastic, thank you. So when it goes to open market, there can obviously be the for sale sign at the front, or it can be done by a private deadline treaty. Would it be more of assistance to sell it under that method than just the for sale?
You're not resolving method of sale today, but our practice in terms of selling a property is we would go to 3 agents, get proposals from them on costings and fees, and their recommendations on method of sale, which could be deadline, private treaty, general listing, auction. And we would evaluate those and make a decision on what we thought was the best for the property. So
great.
That is all part of a future process.
Follow up if I can. Under the private deadline, we would be able to achieve the outcome in a more simplistic, more pragmatic way. Would that be correct?
I'm not too sure what you mean by outcome. The outcome, if you resolve this, is to sell the property. Any of those methods would achieve that in the same time frame.
Okay, great. Kelly?
Yeah, just curious about the deadline sale. Does that involve council staff making a choice as to which purchaser you choose? So you have some discretion in that, or is it governed by highest price? How does that work?
It would be, well, in Resolution 60, you're delegating the authority to me to make decisions on that. And that's usual practice.
This is standard practice.
Standard practice. Generally it is price, but that is not always the outcome.
Okay, great. So that's been moved and seconded. Do you want to discuss, debate? Yeah, great. I reckon you should start it, Nathaniel.
Well, so I think we've got a really good, sensible proposal here on the table. The framework that staff use for deciding what's disposed of and what isn't is really sensible and robust and makes a lot of sense. However, the real world is more complicated than any framework, and there are always complexities. There's always exceptional circumstances. There are always reasons to change things. That's why we're here as councillors, to listen to people, to take in the really specific circumstances, which in this case are really clear and really compelling why we'd want to make sure that there's an option for residents if they want to purchase this property to be able to park close to the place they live, if that's where the open market process goes. So I think it's worked really well. It just shows once again that our whole process around consultation and disposal is working really well. And I think we've got a really good compromise option here, maintains safety because we've got an encumbrance on there, making sure that we're not going to end up with residential development on what is quite a dangerous site. We're making sure that all the neighbours get a say through consultation. So it makes a lot of sense. I think it's a really good option. And really, I thank the residents for coming in and raising it with us. And hopefully we can get a good resolution. So thank you.
Excellent. Okay. We'll just use Votendo, because there might be some different views. So let's just bring that up on the system. So we're ready to go. I'll vote for you, Tim, and you, Pauline. There we go. Great, so that's carried, so that'll go out to open market for disposal. So thank you, and thank you to the deputations for coming in. Hopefully that lines up with what you're after on the annual plan submission. So, yeah, excellent. Okay, let's break now for morning tea. Do you want to come back at 11:15? Yep. Underway, everyone. Okay, let's get underway. Okay, we're going to get started, team. We've got enough here for it. So we're going to move to item 10, the key organisational performance results. So Peter Ryan, Peter is here somewhere. He's on his way now, which I'm happy to move, and Tim's happy to second. So Peter, you're up first.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Look, I'm conscious that these results have been pretty steady for a couple of months now. So with your permission, Mr. Chair, I might just do a quick overview and then move on from there. Look, levels of service are still at basically a record high. We've delivered very well this year. We're delivering well over target for both community and management levels of service. Capital projects watch list has taken a little bit of a dip this last month, 9% drop, but look, realistically, the watch list is quite small and it only takes 2 or 3 projects to move to make that amount of variation. So a bit of a surprise late in the year, but it is what it is. That goal is probably a little bit marginal now for year end. Non-watch list are fine. Planning for the years ahead, feeding the capital program for 27, absolutely fine. In fact, record level, we've done that. 28, 29 is a long way out, but we may still succeed with that target as well. So that's drawdowns for being ready for that. Value for money, overall, council is fine. Budgets are fine. Within the activities, there's really only one material one that's off, and that's water supply. That has been like that for some time. Capital program is roughly 11% underspent. So forecast steady, 500 out of 562 is likely to be where we finish for the year. So still a good year, quite strong. Little blip in capital at the end, but overall one of the stronger years we've ever put in.
Thank you, Peter, for that. That's fantastic. So that's been moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favour? Against? That's carried. Great, thank you. And I don't take the lack of questions as a. It's just the timing of it, I guess, as we approach year end. Yeah. Mitchell, do you want to come up and do the finance report, please? And again, I'm happy to move this, and Jake's happy to second it. Good to see the surplus is holding up. That's what we like.
Yes, that is correct. Morning, councillors. So the year-end forecast cash operating surplus is currently sitting at $46.3 million. That's a 100k improvement on what we reported to you last month. So we're really, numbers are quite bedded down at this point. The weather event costs in February have been incorporated into the forecast, currently sitting at $4.3 million. Which is 800k higher than what we had in last month's forecast. However, there is a potential for some of those costs to come back. They're doing a review on how much relates to operational expenditure versus capital expenditure. Fuel costs, the direct costs have all been incorporated in the forecast. However, we won't see the majority of the escalation until the start of next financial year when the new inflation figures start getting released and impacting on the contract clauses. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Again, that close to year end, there might not be a lot of questions. Everyone's pretty happy. Okay, that's been moved and seconded by myself and Jake. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Great, thank you. Paul, do you want to come up and do the capital report? And I think Kelly was happy to move this, and David looked like he's happy to second it. So talk us through it.
Yeah, morning. Just a couple of comments, really. Still on track to deliver 500 million. In fact, this morning we're at 501, so we will go over the 500 mark for the year. And the other point, the one Peter raised around the forward drawdowns of program, that's currently sitting at 90, so we will achieve that target as well. So I'll just leave it at that and take questions.
Great. Celeste.
Thank you. Just keen to get an update on 2 projects, the Estuary Edge and Pages Road, just an interim.
Do you have any comment on Pages Road?
Sorry, that was Pages Road and Estuary Edge, which I think the Mayor asked about last time. I imagine we might have gotten closer to the contract being signed for that one.
For Pages Road, we are just completing the principals requirements, and then that will go out to tender. We have two sort of design build entities that will be tendering that through the process. I think there's a memo that's about to come to your board.
Oh, great.
So that'll sort of confirm that with a bit more detail in the next.
And then I have a bit
few
more
days.
specifics around the kind of timelines for the tender.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And then is there any update on the Estuary Edge? I understand we're pretty close to, or may have signed that.
I haven't got any more comments than what's in the report.
Okay, so maybe we could get that information sent through. Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? That's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Great, thank you. Now, Peter, do you want to come back for the LTP project risk update, which again is we'll take it as read, but can you just talk? No, actually, we'll take it as read because it's pretty self-explanatory. But is there anything you want to add, and then we'll just go to questions?
No, look, overall the LTP is on track. We've had clear direction up front. The level of service reviews, the light touch early ones have worked well. At a technical level, we're in touch with Audit New Zealand early in the process. We know what their priorities are. We know what their timings are. We've never had that so early before. Look, this is basically the first third done, but that's also the easy third.
Yeah.
The next bit is the heavy lift. And we'll see you on the 1st of October with a draft. So there are one or two minor risks in there, but they're more about investigating the risk than declaring a risk.
No, that sounds good. Pauline?
Just with the 26 million saving on the stadium, I know that that's money we won't have to borrow. Does that what does that equate to in a rate saving going forward in the LTP? Is it like it's?
We actually should, maybe what we do, because it's a good point, and I've had a lot of people ask me, can we just get some information circulated?
Sure.
Is that okay, Pauline?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, I don't expect you to be able to answer it on the spot, but I think it'd be interesting. In saying that, because the 6% is going to be quite challenging for us to get there, so anything helps.
It was in the report. 0.24.
Yeah, roughly a quarter of a percent. Would be.
I think Pauline, what you're saying though is just something around how it impacts the upcoming budgets as we work through the LTP. So we'll just get something circulated. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So Kelly's happy to move that, and Mark looks like he's happy to second it. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then let's just do the guide. We're doing your next one, 14. And Mel's got a Tim's happy to move it. You happy to second it? And then, okay, Mel's happy to second it, but then got a question. Yeah.
3 questions.
Yep.
So the first one is more of a generic one. So we, with the different strategies that are inside, we do those every 3 years. Is there any possibility, if we decided it was necessary, that we could change it at a different point in the cycle?
Yes.
Okay.
You can change your LTP at any time. It's a question of what you consult on.
Yeah, but I'm talking about infrastructure or financial strategies.
Yeah, they generally would require you to go out and consult on the change.
Right, yeah, but you could if you really...
Absolutely. You can do it any time.
Great. I had a question on page 290, which I just found a little bit confusing. It talks about, so the first paragraph talks about a 4% rates cap, and it says so we're setting it at 4%. Setting the cap at this level provides flexibility to respond to unexpected adverse changes in the council's financial position or operating environment. I found that kind of counterintuitive.
Unfortunately, I don't have the same page numbers you do, so I'm only hearing that flat. But I think the point of it. Oh, sorry, 290.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean, Mel, but I think what it is, it's the way the government are looking at bringing it in is the range from 2 to 4, whereas we've said let's model it on the 4,
right?
So that we've got choices. If we get forced down, we've got something to work with. I That's how I kind of...
That would be exactly right. What we're saying is that the 4 would give us the maximum opportunity around headroom and flexibility.
Yeah.
Okay. And then one other one on page 322. Sorry. Actually, I'll just leave. I think I'll just leave that. Yeah, that's all good. Thanks.
Great. So that's been moved and seconded. All in favour? Against? That's carried. Great. Thank you, Peter. Now, we have got item 15 around the treatment plant. Yanni's not here. What should we? Can we leave this till? I just think it's probably fair to leave it till he's back, if people are comfortable with that. Yeah, if we get to the end of public and he's not here, we'll do it before we go into PX. Is that fair enough? Yeah.
Not do it in PX though.
No, we'll do it before we go in.
Before we go in.
Yeah, yeah.
Or we could leave it to a briefing day.
Okay, because we probably need to look at that, and Gary might be able to talk to it later. It's almost like we write reports, but they're quite outdated. So it's almost, well, I mean, we'll deal with it later, but it would be good to just have a think about whether it's better to have a PowerPoint or something rather than a detailed report, because I'm sure there's stuff that's happened over the last 3 weeks that is not in here.
We have updates at Community Board every meeting, basically.
Okay, yeah. Can you have a think about, have a think about what we could do that captures what Celeste and Yanni and everyone have had out, in there. So
have we made a resolution that we need a full report?
I think we've asked for reporting.
Reporting.
Yeah.
Because if we could...
Finance and performance resolution.
You want full report or reporting?
It's an ongoing thing, so you just want reporting. You wanted monthly reporting back to finance and performance.
So maybe not a big formal signed off.
So, in many respects, like
essentially it's just your newsline stuff.
But like a PowerPoint that just had the key things as of yesterday
That
would be really useful, because then it's more relevant for Celeste and Yanni in terms of the actual information. Yeah.
Yeah, because especially since they're reporting regularly, as Councillor Barber said, to the community board that's relative to it. So, yeah.
You got... Oh, you're good? Yeah. Cool. Sweet. All right, well, we'll still do it when Yanni comes back, but let's have a think about how we set it up for next time. Cool. Thank you. All right, so let's go. I think Christchurch NZ are here.
We're downstairs, so they're making their way up. I think they're downstairs.
No, I definitely saw Lauren. So Lauren's... But if they're not here... if we're not here, we might have to do the treatment report. Is CCHL here?
No.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's okay, Mel. I'm just looking to see what I've got in PX that we might be able to do until we get Eric's.
Disability report.
Yeah, I think Lauren's here. It's just, yeah. Okay. Where's this chair? Okay, don't worry. Yeah, I've texted them as well, so don't. It's alright. If not, we'll Yeah, I did. Welcome along, Christchurch NZ. Sorry, we're a wee bit ahead of time, so we've caught you off guard. We'll hand over to you.
Yeah, no problem at all. We were going to have a third person joining us, he might pop in, which is Hamish Blackman, our new director. So if he appears, I will introduce him to you then. Good morning, morena everybody. We're very pleased to be here to present to you the Q3 report. Slightly different approach today in that we are going to take the Q3 results as read. You have a written report, but essentially we're really on track there in terms of budget and performance, with a number of highlights which I think you've heard a great deal about, including Super Round, Electric Avenue and so on. I guess really the key thing that the board did in Q3 was to initiate a strategic refresh for this organisation that we wanted the opportunity to talk to you about today. The reason for doing that is we really see an opportunity to deliver billions of dollars in GDP growth and thousands of jobs, and we really want to show you how with the current council investment supports and sustains the momentum that we're seeing in the city, and we want to have a real discussion about the appropriate level of investment going forward to secure that continued growth. Of course, we're thinking about how we can do more for less, and we know that you are too, but of course we want to start with a strategy because it's really important that form follows function. This is how we go about things: strategy, then structure, then resourcing. But a little bit of background, we want to sort of take you back to the beginning, a little bit of context here around CNZ's funding over time. CNZ was established in 2017 with base funding of 10.151 million. And of course, over time, the activities that the organisation's delivered, as well as the funding, has fluctuated over the years, and performance measures have changed to reflect that. I guess the key thing there, the peak, is obviously around COVID and additional funding for urban development, but that's really the trajectory over time. In 26-27, base funding is changing with the return of urban development to council, reducing our funding by $1.8 million a year. That's a permanent saving to the council. We've also returned $1 million to council this year due to the lower than budgeted urban development staffing costs, while still delivering the levels of service. So really the result of that is that base funding reduces now to 14.9 million in 26-27. Just 1.1 of that is ring-fenced for major events. There's 4.5 people working in that part of the organisation, and we've already been in discussions with council about whether that money would best sit in the events ecosystem more centrally through CPG. So that's just a little bit of your context there. Where does that budget go? I guess most of that budget, in line with industry standards, is spent on people. Economic development's all about connecting people, informed people who can create opportunities with industry. So we've got just 16%, you see in that graph on the left, being spent on overheads. And the remainder of that spend is allocated, as you see on the slide, across a broad range of functions. And I think that probably that pie graph on the right gives you some sense of the breadth of the things that Christchurch NZ does, right from visitor attraction right through to working around talent, Antarctic, working with startups and sustainability for businesses, a very broad range of functions. That can include, to give it a bit more flavour on that, that's things like, of course, there's bidding for business events and major events in there, but there's also attending international trade shows to help promote Christchurch and attract tourism and tourism businesses, workforce development, building capability with businesses here in Christchurch, and then developing in a pipeline of investment contacts and connecting them with real local investment projects, Mainland Angels and the Far Out Convoy that you've heard about before. Actually, I was hoping Hamish should be here for some of that because he's, a really great person to hear from in terms of his work that he does with the investment community and representing Christchurch and the business we have here when he goes overseas. So I think you can see there that really what we do is a lot more than perhaps you might see from the outside. But we are very aware of the sort of fiscal restraints that the council is working within as a shareholder, and so FTEs are at the lowest point since Christchurch NZ's inception, and overheads are reducing. Obviously, again, there's a COVID spike there that you can see in the numbers around 22-23 when there was central government support for regional COVID recovery. Attracting funding outside of the council from third parties has been a focus. It's been a priority for Christchurch NZ. It's something that the board has been very clear with the organisation that we think is an important path. And a key sort of course of non-council funding is actually central government money, which is grants and support that can range from things like the COVID regional response, but also for things like recent tourism campaigns targeting Australia, as well as funding for major events. We do work with the private sector to try and attract third-party funding as well. That's beneficial for both the private sector and the city. But this was impacted by COVID, but is starting to recover. I guess a good example of that is we do work with Christchurch Airport, for example. You know, we do joint marketing to promote new flight routes, and then that's a number of other ways that we try to sort of focus on that. I guess what the big red blob on the right it represents is the bed tax and the opportunity around a bed tax and an estimate of what that would mean. I mean, for your awareness, you'll know that any bed tax is likely to be on top of and not a replacement for existing investment in tourism, with a clear criteria for what it's spent on, for example, on tourism infrastructure. But that is the opportunity, really, you can see there, and we're working with the Mayor's office to advocate for that. If we flick to the next slide, we wanted to give you some sense of how Christchurch stacks up against other comparative economic development agencies. It's not a perfect comparison because each council structures economic development activity differently. However, Christchurch's investment in economic development as a proportion of rates revenue, so what we're talking about here is a cost per capita, is broadly in line with Auckland, and this is after the reforms that they implemented in Auckland, and it's materially lower than Wellington. So I think from this slide it's clear that Christchurch is not over-investing in economic development when we look at the other cities' spend. So what have we actually delivered? This is the KPIs we have delivered over the last 4 years. They've delivered strongly against targets. I think the key thing there on that slide is around the return on investment of $5.60 for every council dollar that has been spent. And of course, the economy is strong. We hear daily the good stories about Christchurch. You know, most recently the Prime Minister talking us up at the airport last week. You know, comparing us to Singapore, saying that we have our own Singapore right here in New Zealand, and it's Christchurch. But we do need to maintain momentum. You know, many of the people in this room were around when you made the brave calls to focus on the long term when this organisation was formed, and that wasn't always an easy decision, but it's helped put Christchurch in a very strong position economically. The city is now, you know, moving from an investment in infrastructure and building the foundations really to a phase where it's about momentum and accelerating growth. It's not really the time to take our foot off the gas. So, as I said, the board initiated a strategic refresh in Q3, looking at our strategic direction. Really, you know, the question was, how do we drive the Christchurch economy into the future? And we have taken a number of things into account there. Obviously, some of those I've touched on in regards to tourism, but there are a number of things going on, obviously, in terms of central and local government reform. We're very much aware of the fiscal constraints that the council was facing, but equally, you know, there are some things that have changed the context for the organisation. The 17A review, we've taken on board some of the commentary within that review around the need to focus on investment attraction and the role that events can play in supporting inward attraction or investment into the city, but that actually the goal is, the real North Star here is to create jobs. At the end of the day, we need to create jobs in the city and drive that economy forward in that way. So we've looked very carefully about how all of this comes together for this organisation and across the council group of families. So we're incredibly confident in the strategy that we're going to see over the next few slides. I'm going to ask Ellie to just take you through those. It's grounded very much on what makes Christchurch unique. It has been co-created locally with business and other agencies like the University of Canterbury, Business Canterbury and the airport, who have all been involved in creating this. And it's been peer-reviewed with similar agencies in New Zealand and across the east coast of Australia. The organisation's also spent some time looking at an evidence base to support it. So we're very confident in this direction. We're very much looking forward to your feedback as we move forward.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to try and do this super quickly. But essentially, this is an economic strategy for the city. And we've set our city some really ambitious goals. These are, do you want me to start again? Or can you, yeah, it's all good. So we've set ourselves some ambitious additional goals around two key measures, GDP and jobs. And we've deliberately kept it very focused. We believe that if we take this approach as a city, and not all of this will be delivered by Christchurch NZ, some of this will be delivered by, for example, extra flight routes that might come into the city. But we believe that as a city, by taking a focused approach, we can have an additional $8 billion worth of GDP and an additional 35,000 jobs. They're rough estimates at the moment, so we're continuing to refine them. The $8 billion is roughly made up of $4 billion that comes from growth sectors, those 4 growth sectors I'm going to talk about, and the other $4 billion is based on the ambitious targets central government have to double tourism. That one might be a little bit harder to get there. So essentially, we've turned our strategy around, if you like, and we have said that the centre of all of this is the focus on growth sectors. We know by choosing areas where Christchurch has got some industry momentum, where there are businesses already growing here, where we've got an opportunity that's big enough to go after but small enough for us to have a niche in, and where we've got a strategic advantage, something that makes it sticky here in Christchurch, that we can actually really shift the dial. And those 4 areas, and we'd love to come and talk to you about them more at a later date, are aerospace and future transport, health tech, clean tech, and the bioeconomy. So fine, we've got these 4 sectors, great. How do we actually make them grow? Well, we've got some direct levers at Christchurch NZ that we can pull, and I just want to spend a little bit of time on this because it starts to give you an idea of what we do. So let's start with investment attraction on the right. So we have a team of people that are attracting businesses to Christchurch. We have about 28 live leads at the moment that we're working on. Some of those will come off, some of them won't. But we are trying to attract organisations that are in those 4 sectors. Now, it doesn't mean if Costco turn up and say they would like to come to Christchurch, we're going to say, sorry, you don't fit in our sectors. Of course we're not. But the ones that we're proactively going to chase are more likely to be a Bio-Aura or companies that fit into those sectors. Likewise, when we're attracting business events, we want to attract conferences that are in these sectors. So we might proactively chase a conference around immunotherapy, but less so around double glazing. So it starts to get much more focused with where we play versus where the private sector plays. The other 2 things on there, so I've talked about investment attraction, I've talked about business events. The other 2 are business growth. That's where we work one-on-one with businesses, or where we work to help to get the startups going, what we call the commercialisation space. We want to encourage startups that are in these sectors. And workforce development, we play a key role in connecting education through to industry so that people in maybe even years 9 and 10 can see that they can have these careers in the future, which will help us to fill these jobs when they come. All of this is not possible without a vibrant city. So if you want to attract someone to come and study at UC and to have a career and work here, then it needs to be a city they want to live in. And that's why tourism and major events, which central government very much see together, is a really important part of what we do. If we have an electric Avid, it makes it easier for us to attract students to Christchurch, and then we try and keep them here, and that's how it's all laddering up to that overall growth sector approach. And city promotion plays a really important part of that as well, of course, because the more that people know that Christchurch is a city that's famous for clean tech or famous for health tech, then the easier it is for us to attract investment and talent to the city. So that's it in a nutshell. It is a very, very fast overview of what has been a lot of work. For me, one of the most exciting things about this is how aligned it is with central government strategy. And that's enormously helpful for us. We've been working very hard with MB and with elected members across all colours of the political spectrum, because the more we align with central government strategy, the easier it is for us to unlock that third-party funding.
And really, this is the final slide, is really just an opportunity to say that we're looking forward to working together and looking forward to your feedback and the co-creation of the future direction of this organisation. 9 years ago, you had the foresight to put all of these functions together to deliver these results for Christchurch. And I think in another 9 years, you'll see what you can achieve with a focus on the city's economic development. I mean, the key for me is jobs. There is no shortage of people, as I've said to you before, who want to move here. They don't know how to participate in this workforce. They don't know where the jobs are coming from. I think this is a pathway to creating some sectors that are super strong, that are industries of the future, that are supported by a vibrant city. So really, that's it from us. I don't know if we've got time for questions. We were told we had 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So
No, good as gold. Pauline, and then I've got a couple, and then we'll see who else.
Just quickly, thank you. Just on your slide on the bed tax, how have you estimated that? I mean, when we don't even have the tax implemented, what kind of tax level did you set that at?
So that estimate's based on what we're hearing from Regional Tourism New Zealand and from the Hotel Council, which is around a 2.5% standard bed tax across all types of accommodation.
Right. And is there any progress with that at a government level? Do you know what's taking it so long? Because there's a huge appetite in the country for it.
I think the short answer to that is yes, there is a progress. The Mayor and I went and spent some time with the Minister for Tourism a few weeks ago with the other lead tourism parts of the country, so Rotorua, Queenstown, Wellington and Auckland. There is definitely a few things to work through, but I think the general appetite is there.
Great, thank you.
Cool. One thing, and that was really good. Just for context, what's our GDP now? If we're at
36.6 billion.
36, so it's another...
It would take us to 48 billion when we add the organic growth and the 8 billion on top. It would take to 48 billion.
36, okay. What was that? Not 46, was it? Did you say?
36.6 at the moment. It would go to 48.
48, perfect. Welcome, Hamish. Yeah.
You guys are earlier than that.
Yeah. It doesn't happen very often. So, hey, and the other one, and then there might be other questions, and then you might want to introduce Hamish. Just what's the sort of economic assessment around the fuel challenges at the moment, and what data are you seeing come through the organisation around that?
Do you want me to answer that? Yeah. So we entered the fuel crisis in a better position than most parts of the country, which is good, but there is definitely a dip in business confidence at the moment. What that will translate to, we don't know yet. We have seen some interest, we track it every week, and there are some interesting sort of blips on a Thursday where fuel spending goes up on a Thursday when there's some sort of promotion on somewhere.
I mean in relation to like the overall economy.
Yeah. So there will be an impact on inflation. Inflation is going to be the biggest issue, and that will have a lag. That'll probably be about 8 to 9 months before we see it, but also business confidence, I think, is a real concern.
And I think some impact on retail.
Retail more than tourism at the moment. What we have seen is that tourism and business events have held up better than we thought. We were worried that they would stop, and I think that's partly because when people have made a decision to travel to New Zealand, they're going to stick to it anyway. So we haven't seen a huge dip in that. There may be, again, a lag with people not planning to do it. So,
but is there anything, and it's okay if we get it circulated later, but have we got any data yet on what?
Oh, absolutely. We can share a report. Yeah, we do a monthly economic insights brief, which is available online. You can all get access to that. I'm really happy to share that with you. But we also have specific fuel monitor things that we can.
Sorry, I haven't answered. Right. What I was meaning was, with the challenges with the fuel, what are we seeing from an economic metrics point of view in the economy locally?
So the answer is decrease in retail, so increase in fuel spending. But other than that, not a lot yet. There's not a lot to see here. It will be a delayed impact rather than a current impact, because the biggest impact is going to be from the increase in inflation that is likely to come.
Right. Okay.
So we're monitoring. Is there anything you would add to that, Hamish?
No, we're starting to see the impact of supply chain cost inflation, where people are putting their prices up because of their anticipated fuel costs that is in part of their business, and that's still to flow through and could have a lag effect for many months to come. Even though the retail price will drop for us getting our fuel at the petrol station, a lot of businesses have cost inflation that's already been embedded into their supply chains when they're bringing things in from overseas.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, can someone just send me that link? It'd be good to look at the numbers.
Of course. Yeah.
Aaron.
So just around the bed tax stuff, and with the introduction of the IVL and where that money's currently going, if you do a quick Google search, the IATA, the International Air Travel Association, they speak against it, and they say how it'll make New Zealand less competitive by just adding more taxes and stuff to our travel, and we're still lagging behind our pre-COVID numbers. We haven't caught up. So other markets have grown a lot faster. we haven't, and then we're looking to make it more expensive, which will push people away. So
I'll lead on that just because I've done a lot of work with Tourism New Zealand and Tourism Australia, and a number of, like, I've worked with 13 different versions of this organisation globally, and a bed tax in some form is absolutely standard, and it does not, in my view, impact tourism. For most people, it might be $20 on their hotel bill. You know, if you go to Europe, you see a whole lot of these different charges. It doesn't actually impact people's, desire to go. Of course, there's different lobbying groups with different perspectives on this, but it is we're actually an outlier in not having a version of a bed tax in this country.
Right.
All right.
Okay. Because in that report, it actually quotes our government's own numbers, saying that our own government themselves said that they thought that the revenue raised would be outstripped by the loss of people. But, well, that's our, yeah.
Okay, so I think we're probably good there. So I'm happy to move this. Tyler's happy to second it. All in favour? Against? Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to go to.
Until next time.
We're going to go to. Guys, come on. We're doing well. We're still in a public meeting. Item 18, Christchurch City Holdings. So we'll bring them in now. Noting we've got PX papers on this as well. So what I plan to do is this paper, the treatment plant, then go into PX. Yeah. So Lisa's checked with him, and he's probably back about 12:15.
I think he's been further delayed, so he said.
So we'll just keep
fine.
going. Yeah.
I've got 16 questions though, so. Is that okay?
If you could take them offline.
I'll email them through.
Yeah. Okay, Brian, welcome. Yep, we're straight in. So I've just noted with the team, we've obviously got a PX session as well. So we've got a PX session with you next. What we're going to do is do this paper. We've got one more around the treatment plant, and then we're going to go into public excluded and go through your stuff. So there might not be a lot here that you want to talk through, but we're in your hands.
Good morning. Great to be back again. Before we just touch on the Q3 report, I thought it would be helpful just to make some comments about the unsolicited proposal that we've received at CCHL in relation to Littleton Port. And I thought it would be good to make those comments in public because we know that there is considerable public interest, and we're particularly mindful of the anxiety that things like this can cause key stakeholders, and in that regard, we're very mindful of the LPC staff. We have informed Council, and you're aware that we've informed you on a no surprises basis, and we have been able to reassure you that around our consideration of this proposal. I mean, consistent with our board's obligations as directors, and also out of respect to the consortium and the consideration that the consortium has given to the future of the port, CCHL will give due consideration to that proposal over coming weeks. And once we've done that, we'll be in a position to discuss it with Council. And I just want to reassure Council and all key stakeholders that CCHL is fully cognizant of Council's letter of expectation, and there are specific directions in there in relation to Littleton Port and the operation of Littleton Port, and that the Council's LOE and those specific directions in relation to LPC will be front of mind in our deliberations, and there'll be no decisions with respect to the unsolicited proposal without consultation with Council. I'd just also like to note, so that the public are aware, that from time to time CCHL receives expressions of interest from parties wanting to invest in the portfolio. The difference in this case is it's more than an expression of interest, it's actually a full-blown proposal. And that's why it needs due consideration, and we have obligations as directors to do that, and it's respectful to do that given the time and effort that consortiums put into the proposal. So the bottom line is we've got some work to do. Once we've got our head around it, we'll come back to council and have a good talk, and together we can give it further due consideration and decide where to from here.
I think, Brian, that's really useful, and thank you for putting that into the public domain, because I think it just demonstrates the value of CCHL, which is we have you set up for a purpose, which is to manage on behalf of council, or be the owner effectively on behalf of council. And so what you've kind of saying to me is this is just BAU for you, and that you get approached from time to time around things. You've got an obligation to look at them, but then you're very cognizant of the letter of expectation and the expectations of the shareholder as you work through that process. Is that fair?
Absolutely, that's a good summary. And we have the remit to make a decision around this at CCHL. This is not considered a major transaction under the Companies Act, so we do have a remit to make that decision. However, we wouldn't make that decision independently. This is what's being proposed would be a material change to the operating model at the port. And in that regard, we would see that we would need to be fully aligned with council as shareholder on any decision making around this proposal.
Yeah, I think that's useful. I mean, you've constantly been aligned with the shareholder, and we trust you to undertake your duties. So thank you for being so upfront about that. All right, so let's jump to the quarterly reporting, and then we'll take questions at the end.
Okay, well, the group performance is tracking positively to plan. The final subsidiary dividends are expected to be received by CCHL in the coming week, and they are expected to be in line with the budget. So CCHL is continuing to target payment of its final dividend in full before the June financial year end, and that final payment will be consistent with the SOI target, bringing the total dividend payment for the year to 65 million. Just a few highlights I'd like to mention. Orion recently submitted their customised price path submission to the Commerce Commission, and a draft decision on that is expected late in 2026, with a final decision early in 2027. That's the culmination of an extraordinary amount of work over about 18 months by the Orion team. I would also like to highlight CityCare's strong tender success with water contracts with Christchurch City Council and Dunedin, and Apex, a part of the CityCare group, winning design and build water treatment plant contracts in the Waikato. CityCare property has also won a long-term New Zealand Defence Force maintenance contract. And just finally, in terms of highlights, LPC's Te Awa Pahari Bay reclamation is tracking within budget despite some challenges related to weather events and fuel-related cost escalations. But that is tracking to budget and is expected to be completed by the end of this year. We'll leave it there if that's all right, Chair, and we'll take questions.
That's really useful. I've got Jake, and then Kelly, and then Nathaniel.
Thanks, Brian. Consultation. I'm kind of keen to know, get more tangible detail from you about that. Will that mean we'll get a vote if such a proposal is seriously considered?
Well, that's not a question for me. I think that's a question that council would need to answer. I don't know how those things work.
Take guidance from us is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, happy to redirect it to the organisation. I don't think
Maybe we'll
received.
I think, why don't we get them to come back?
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep. Cool. Kelly?
Yeah, Brian, just concerning the approach from DP World, etc. I'm trying to search for a simple example that people might understand. So in terms of if I'm living in my house and my wife and I go away on holiday and we leave one of our adult sons in charge of the house, and a real estate agent comes to the house and offers to buy the house, obviously our teenage son or adult child doesn't have the ability to make that decision in the absence of the owners, which is us. Would that be a fair estimation of what's gone on for the general public?
Probably not.
it was worth it. It was worth it. Oh, I thought it was quite good actually.
I think it was a very good effort, Councillor. But look, I think in that analogy of CCHL as the teenage son that you were referring to, of the adult son, not. Oh yes, I'm pleased we're adult, not teenager. A CCHL, as I said earlier, we do have the remit, like we do have the remit as directors to make that decision. But what I'm saying to you and saying to the public is we will not make that decision independently. This is what has been proposed by this consortium would be a material change to the operating model at Littleton Port, and any decision making around that would need to be hand in hand. So in that regard, I see the CCHL and Council table as one table in relation to that matter.
Great.
So it'd be a family decision.
I think your point's still valid, Kelly. I thought it was a good analogy. Okay, I've got Nathaniel and then Aaron.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. I appreciate the assurance about that being the way you characterise the decision. Do you think you'll be getting external advice at CCHL on the consortium's proposal?
No, we don't anticipate that we're going to need that, although we are working with the port company itself and giving due consideration to the proposal. So the extent to which the port company might want to get some independent advice, I'm not aware of that at this stage, and that would be a matter for their board.
Yeah. Cool, thank you.
Great, thanks, Nathaniel. And then Aaron, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, so, Brian, there's been a number of claims in the public domain around this. In the proposal, is the port for sale or looking to be sold, or is it leasing and partnership in the proposal?
Yes, this is nothing to do with the sale of the port or the port assets.
Right, okay, so that's really clear. It's nothing to do with that. It's a partnership model where someone would lease it and run it, but from what I saw, keeping the current staff would be
yes, the proposal, as we understand it, and there's we need to dig into it and give it considerably more evaluation and analysis. But the proposal, as we understand it, is the formation of a joint venture operating company, of which CCHL would be one of the joint venture partners alongside the consortium.
Okay, now I'm picking in large companies and organisations, ones you've been part of, these things pop up from time to time. Nothing will come to us unless you do all of your due diligence, and the ratepayer would be coming out better off before anything come to us. So at the point where you guys go through it and say, this just doesn't stack up, doesn't make sense, it's gone, and it wouldn't even come to the table. Would that be correct?
Yeah, I think in this case, though, I think whether the proposal is rejected or whether we consider that it requires further consideration by us jointly, we would want to come back to this table, and particularly given the makeup of the consortium and the which includes 3 runanga, we would want to have that conversation with you before we made any decision, including rejecting the proposal.
Right, okay, thank you.
Great. Celeste.
I'm sure you would have heard, but there was a deputation this morning on the subject of the letter of oh, sorry, too far away. Around the letter of expectation statement of intent. Do you have any comment on the issues that were raised as part of that?
I'm sorry, I don't know what was raised.
Perhaps we could circulate, because I think we're just going to email through and then get some feedback on that.
Sure.
Okay, so this has been... No, it hasn't been moved and seconded. I'm happy to move it. Jake's happy to second it. All in favour? Against? That's carried, noting Mel's conflict. Okay, thank you. What we're going to do, Brian, is we're just going to do the treatment plant one now, and then we're going to go to PX. So do you mind hanging around for a little bit?
No, I've got nothing of value to offer in relation to the treatment.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Gary, welcome along.
Hello, everybody. Back again.
Can we just start by preempting my question, which is the report's really good, but they are, the nature of reporting to us means they are often out of date. Is there a better way we can report that aligns with the resolution that we've got?
Yeah, look, the simple answer to that would be if you still want us to come back monthly rather than bi-monthly, we could do that. And an oral update with a PowerPoint would be the easiest for us, and also to be able to give you the most up-to-date. There's 3 weeks of work that's happened that isn't in the report because we're starting to write it the day after we leave here. So
is everyone generally comfortable
ideally
with
be
that
good.
approach? Yeah. And then you got questions, Celeste? Yep.
Not yet, but give me enough time.
Oh, well, we're
Sorry,
up to that. We're up to questions now. So.
Actually, I don't have any questions. I just want to acknowledge the work of the team in terms of coming to our community board with that updated information. That was really helpful, and also the community meeting, the information that was presented in a way that was really clear, I think, which is really helpful. So just want to pass on my thanks for that. And I think reflecting more of that in the reports to council would be good, because I do think it is important that council continues to have visibility of this. It's not a community board issue. So just making sure that that's maybe just a bit more simplified in terms of the reporting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the community meeting we had on the 17th showed a really good model of being able to report what's going on. So we can continue to do that. Thank you.
Let's try it next month, and see if it works. And but I think capturing Celeste's point, we want up-to-date information, but we still want the information.
Absolutely.
So it's not a
No.
Okay, great. So I'm happy to move this. Nathaniel looks like he's happy to, or Celeste's happy to second it. All in favour? Against? That's carried.
Done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, now we've done everything in public, haven't we? So let's. I'll move that we exclude the public and keep CCHL here, and the mayor's happy to second that. All in favour? Against? That's carried. So we'll just give the team a minute, and we're going to go straight.